Well, the federal government has announced a new buyback program for what it's calling assault-style weapons. Now, those weapons were banned in May of last year, and the new voluntary program will provide financial compensation to gun owners who give up those banned weapons. The Liberal Party promised a buyback program in the last election. And to talk more about this and some of the political implications, we have reached Hamish Telford. He's a professor of political science at the University of the Fraser Valley. Good morning to you, Hamish.
Good morning, Stephen.
How effective, first off, do you see any buyback program being for the federal Liberals?
Well, this is a huge question, and we really don't know. The debate on gun control for long guns goes back more than 30 years to the massacre at the École Polytechnique in Montreal in 1989. And we saw in the first iteration in the Chrétien government there was a long gun registry, which was generally favored by police, but turned into a boondoggle and was eventually scrapped by the Conservative government when Stephen Harper came to power. So, one would hope that the Liberals and the federal government have learned how to do this better. This is a more targeted program, and that it will be more effective than the last one was. Of course, in terms of a buyback program, they are going to face the accusations that they are targeting only law-abiding gun owners, that criminals aren't going to step forward and surrender their weapons and get their money back. So a part of this legislation is also focused on gun smuggling and to provide border security with more resources to combat gun smuggling.
And what political line do the Liberals have to tread here as they move ahead with this?
Yes, well, what they learned in the last round with the long gun registry is that they angered rural voters who are concerned about losing their hunting rifles. So hunting rifles are being left out of this. This is a real focus on high-powered assault-style weapons. And the Liberals are under a lot of pressure in urban areas to do things about these type of weapons as well as handguns. But the fear is amongst rural voters that they'll be next, that the government will come next to take their hunting rifles. So that is the sort of the line that the Liberals are trying, or the needle the Liberals are trying to thread, to appease urban voters who are concerned about gun crime while reassuring rural voters that their hunting weapons are not going to be on the list eventually.
My understanding is, and we run into this problem every time we use the phrase assault-style weapon, because an assault weapon is not really a legally defined term here in Canada. And I guess, how are you supposed to get a count on how many of these weapons are actually in circulation or who's holding on to them?
Well, this is it, and especially now that we don't have the long gun registry, we really don't know how many are out there, and the government will start buying them back. Presumably, a lot of people will voluntarily surrender their weapons, but I don't think they'll have a good sense of how many they have. The government will have a good sense of how many they've recaptured and how many are still out there. And, of course, we don't know about the illegal weapons out there.
Right. And so how do the Liberals assure law-abiding gun owners who may use their long guns for hunting or for sport that they're not after their guns?
All they can do is promise them that that's not going to be the case. But my guess is that a lot of rural hunters are not going to be reassured by those words.
And where do you expect the Conservatives to go with this?
Well, this is going to be very interesting. I expect the Conservatives to oppose this. They usually do, and they will attack it along the lines that I've already indicated, that it's really targeting law-abiding gun owners. I think the politics of this gets really interesting when we think about the proposed bill, which is going to be called Bill C-21, going through with a minority government. Where are the Liberals going to get the support they need to get this legislation passed? Because, as I say, I think the Conservatives will oppose. Generally speaking, gun control is favored in Quebec because of the legacy of the École Polytechnique attack. But the Bloc Québécois is now a rural-based party, and it'll be interesting to see how they fall on this issue. And the NDP gets very divided on debates about gun control. The NDP holds seats like Vancouver East and Nunavut. places with very different perspectives on guns and the crime issue. So it'll be interesting to see, as I say, where the Liberals get support to get this bill passed through Parliament.
And I guess, do we know any more details about the buyback program, about what gun owners might be offered, about how it might work, about how long they'll have to do it? Those details, I guess, are emerging right now. We're just looking at David Lametti, the Minister of Justice and Attorney General, speaking right now.
And those are going to be crucial in terms of are the buyback prices going to be enough to entice voters to, or not voters, gun owners, to give up their weapons. And the overall cost of the program, if it is effective in luring people back, to give up their weapons, could be high. I've just been reading that the buyback program in Australia cost over $300 million.
Wow.
So we could be spending hundreds of millions of dollars here, and to what end is still not clear.
And Hamish, we know, obviously, I mean, there's a gap between people who live in urban areas and people who live in rural areas when it comes to support for gun control. Do we see British Columbia being any different when it comes to that template?
No, I think British Columbia will follow it precisely. I think there is a lot of concern about gun violence here in the Lower Mainland. We've been seeing sort of an escalation recently of gun violence, and so that's going to heighten concerns in this community. But much of the rest of the province, there will be a lot of hunters who will be deeply concerned about any sort of gun control legislation dealing with long guns.
And do you think any parallel measures that the government takes to try to curb the use of illegal guns, those handguns that are being used all over the Lower Mainland, do you think that will go any way toward winning support for this?
Well, the Liberals, again, have been very shy on gun control, and on the handgun one, where they have the power to implement a ban or further regulations, have decided they don't want to take that route, and they've indicated to cities that they will assist them in instituting handgun bans if municipalities wish for it. Municipalities have no experience in this area. It's not even clear how this would work. So as far as I can see, that initiative is not going anywhere. I've seen the mayor of Montreal recently speaking out, asking the federal government to take a much stronger lead on the ban of or the limitation on handguns.
Hamish, good to hear you this morning. Thank you so much for taking our call. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, Stephen.
Take care. Bye-bye.